Hey, hey. Hi, guys. Welcome back, everybody. All right, let's go ahead and jump on in to a collective message. Sorry, I'm resetting things. I thought I would do this one live, but let's get into a collective message. Remember, these are non zodiac specific. We'll call as we see them. Also, don't forget members. We will be live today in our members corner. We're doing something a little different for Monday for our members on this channel where we're going to be live for 3 hours. So I'll see you guys in the members corner from 3 to 5 and then again from 7 to 8. Members over on Tarot Dog, we'll do our standard members thing where we'll have a members video and such, but we'll do a special edition over on Tarot Dog for card pull session also a little bit later on in the month. Thank you everybody that joined me for last night's late night sessions on both channels where it was just open to everybody. Anyway, guys, it's been really nice, and stay tuned. We'll also have some, I probably won't get to many zodiacs today. Maybe I'll slide one or two in on this channel, but for the most part, we'll probably do more of our today's topics and our Monday winner and everything. So stay tuned for that today. Hi, everybody. So great to see you. All right, we start with the Knight of Swords in the reverse, the Emperor upright, the Three of Swords upright. Somebody is bogged down by heartbreak. Not somebody, the Emperor. And their heart is reaching for something. The thing is, they're either saying, I can't move forward because honestly, the realization has hit. I want to be somewhere else. Or this is somebody who's saying, I just stalled out. I mean, the Emperor could be having a bit of a meltdown today. What is it that is stopping you in your tracks, Emperor? What is it that has upset you? What is it that has caused you grief? The Devil sideways. And, you know, it's interesting that they chose to put, you know, the same skull on both of them, almost showing us that like an emperor who's in a good energy is absolutely spectacular, right? Right down to the bone. You know, we get to know who an emperor is, and they're incredible, and they are good all the way to the bone. They're good leaders. They're kind. They're balanced. They're everything an actual leader should be, right? Not petty, not out for, you know, ego boosts. A good emperor thinks about the future, and the future, not to put their name on it, to be like, you know, I need a monument that's tribute to me. I don't need my name everywhere. What I need is to make my life count so that I've done something that I can be proud, that I think I'm glad I contributed to that in my lifetime. Like that to me is what a good emperor is, right? So they're good down to the bone as far as like they stand for something. But then we look at the Devil card, and it also says I can strip everything away, and there's fear at the heart of things, and there's you know, toxicity, and everything good gets stripped away. And so it's interesting that we have like, I don't know if this emperor has experienced a big loss and it's just shocking and stunning for him right now. If it's just everything has come full stop, maybe he actually is suddenly really scared, like, did I just lose something so important in my life? Look, he's in a crisis moment in this story, right? So let's see what's going on, Emperor. Five of Swords, some kind of fight or argument where, you know, we've got that chessboard, and obviously there was a back and forth. 10 of Wands, Ace of Coins. Argument or fight. I don't know if somebody got a big old head. Look at the size of this hat, right? This is a person wearing this ginormous hat. I don't know. He perhaps played a role in like an argument, and maybe he wasn't being emperor energy. Maybe he was, you know, head too full. Look, every character has a capacity to be an incredible, you know, emperor empress, and every emperor empress has a capacity to, you know, not always be that person, or maybe they weren't that emperor empress yet, and so instead they were quite full of themselves, and they were quite, you know, I don't know, he looks like he got a fat head. That's not good. If that caused a fight, an argument, and I don't know if he thought that'd be fine, don't care if somebody's mad at me, doesn't matter, I'm moving on. My life's going to be so perfect anyway. I couldn't care less. about this fight or argument, I'm going to say that that changed. I think he cares very much now about the fight or the argument that happened. Hi, everybody. So nice to see you all. Thank you guys for being here. Lots of love to everybody. We have a Six of Cups upright. Well, obviously this was a fight or an argument with the soulmate, and now it's but a kind of sketched out old memory. Oh boy. Hang on. Are you thinking that you created a drama? Hang on, let's go for a more serious deck, we'll say. Are you thinking that you created this drama? We've got a Page of Pentacles. And he's sitting here still with that quill pen like, I should have written something else. I should have said something different. Or I should have simply responded. Did you leave an argument and you bounced in silence thinking you'd be fine, only to discover that you're not fine? 10 of Swords. Everything ended really painful and really badly in this. Okay. 10 of Wands. Again, this, look, when we put all of our Greek philosophers here, we know that he's having deeper thoughts about things, right? What he thought was going to work out just fine, like minimal effort or even total silence, and just saying, you know what, better to let an argument end. Who cares? I'm moving on. It doesn't matter. It's just a soulmate. Well, there's no just a soulmate. Now, this doesn't have to be a lover that he, like blew off. This could have been a really good friendship. This could have been somebody, though, where there was arguing back and forth. And then he decided, you know what, I'm going to stop the arguing by not responding anymore. I'm just done with this person. And I've simply moved on, only to kind of, I think, realize that that was a real nasty way to end things, number one. And it was very complete. Nasty with silence instead of thoughtful, like at least let's close the argument. It kind of feels like there should have been a different ending. I don't know. Did you want this person to be disrespected? Is that why you shut down on them? Or because it feels like this person ghosted. Page of Cups is sideways. King of Pentacles is upright. I kind of feel like, well, no way in hell am I saying sorry. If they want to come say sorry to me, then I'll give to them again. I think that's what their energy was. Why do you think that that was either, maybe because sometimes in life that is the right call, right? Sometimes in life we have to say, I'm not arguing with this person. They're totally out of bounds. And if they can't figure that out, I'm not going to sit here and teach them. They're behaving the way they want to. The day they want to stop acting like that is the day they can come and talk to me, and then my door will be open again. I could totally understand somebody operating that way, because there are times where we're like, nope, I'm going to treat you how to treat me, which is, I don't put up with this. You have to change your behavior if you want to, dance with me again. I could understand him taking that stance. The only thing is, this says somehow he thinks that that was all wrong. He's the one with the broken heart. He's the one who can't seem to move forward, even though for a hot minute it was like, oh, who cares? Blow this off. So what changed? What changed? Is it because, I don't like seeing him in the big fat head energy, and now he's an emperor. He was dealing with his empress. What changed is he realized she was perhaps standing there in her grace and her power, expecting to be treated with respect. Wait a second. So how do you think you were treating her during that fight or that argument that you then shut down on her and blew her off? We have Six of Cups. We have the Star. This says either he was distancing himself, and this is like the Great Wall of China. So I was putting up a wall, distancing myself from my Six of Cups. He may be realizing I wasn't part of a solution. She may have been trying to get to a solution, and I took it as hostile. Although the Star card can also be healing energy. Let me get another card. Temperance, but Seven of Wands sideways. It's like he wanted so much for them not to have conflict, but he decided, I'm going to insist. Look, you need to tell me that you want me back. Otherwise, you know what? I will not talk about anything that I don't want to. The only thing that will allow us to move forward is if you fall in line and behave, because I really want us balanced, but that means you you stop having a conversation with me that I don't want to have. I basically am showing you with my silence, I will not be discussing any of this with you. You can simply say that you want me back and we'll all be good. If he was using that tactic, that is not a freaking emperor. You can't do that with your partner. Emperors and empresses, especially, there has to be open dialogue. If he used, because this says blockage only on certain things. You don't talk to me about anything I said I'm not talking to you about. You try and talk to me about any topic I don't want to talk about, and guess what? I'll punish you with silence. I'll push you right on out the door. And then when you want to come back and behave right, then I'll talk to you again. Look, all I can say is even he is acknowledging she was an empress, which means she wasn't like, stepping across boundaries and demanding things that you don't have any business demanding. She was actually not out of bounds. Even he is acknowledging that. Now, if it had been like she was an empress in the reverse, or it was like, oh, she was a control freak, she was demanding all these things of me, she was way overstepping any kind of personal boundaries, I could understand him being like, we're done. I don't deal with people that step across boundaries. But even he is saying she wasn't stepping across boundaries. I was trying to force an empress to basically live on her knees. No empress lives on her knees. She doesn't get trained what she's allowed to discuss and not discuss, because she's not going to step across boundaries in the first place that, of like normal respect. So what she must have been doing, even acknowledged by him, she didn't do anything that was out of bounds. His reaction was seemingly very controlling. And he used silence to push her away unless she was going to, play by his rules. Because he wanted her to be something that I don't think she is. An empress is peaceful and will always seek peace, but not without resolution. So she's not going to pretend. She's not going to, if his idea of an empress was, you need to be weak and submissive, good luck with that. No empress is weak and submissive. They are gentle and they are accommodating when it is a good idea to be so. But weak and submissive, those are not good words. They'll never describe an empress. I feel like he had a mistaken vision of what an empress was supposed to be. If he wanted docile and submissive, and you shut up and you don't ask me anything that I don't want to be asked, or I'll punish you with silence, yeah, you can get the hell on out of here. No empress is putting up with that. But maybe that's what he thought. Maybe that's what was patterned to him. Maybe that's what he thought, a nice behavior was. Okay. Or maybe that was just the way he needed things to be handled because he was stressed out if there were certain conversations. So he wanted to run from them or put up boundaries around him, still wanting to be with her, but you can't ask me questions that stress me out. Well, again, that's not going to fly. That's not going to work. At this point, what is it that changed in your mindset about how you looked at this, other than saying she was an empress, she was trying to communicate, and I put up the blockage with her? 8 of Swords. He's realizing that using that silence tactic, saying, you know what, if she's not going to act right, then she can't have me, and blah, blah, blah. He's realizing, no, he kicked himself out of her empire. You notice he's on the outside of the castle. You notice that he's the one who's been stuck waiting for her to act right and invite him back in. But no empress is going to be suddenly saying, okay, I want you and you've trained me that I as long as I don't ask you anything that you don't feel like answering, then you'll be with me. Okay, yeah, I bow my head. Please come back. She's not ever doing that. He, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what gender it is. This could be a same-sex couple, but there was a power struggle here. And he thought he had taken control of the situation and said, I'm not coming back until she acts right, only to discover an empress doesn't change her empress energy. So he kicked himself out of the kingdom. Not he was teaching her a lesson. I'll teach you a lesson. I'll leave the empire. Well, now you're just out in the cold, bud. Like that, you didn't win anything. You left, and then she let you go because an empress doesn't, lasso you and reel you back in. And she also doesn't, like bow. So and this doesn't mean that there wouldn't have been common ground where the two of them couldn't have had open dialogue. But remember, he blocked off all dialogue unless she would stop basically communicating with him about anything that he didn't feel like ever communicating about. That part was never going to change. So I think that's probably why she didn't chase him or try to welcome him back in, because it's like, you don't want to be here because of the way I am. So I have to let you go because I can't change and not be an empress. So I'm thinking he's realizing he put himself out in the cold while thinking in the beginning, I'll teach her. Yeah, no, you put yourself out in the cold. Death card. A lot of things have changed while he sat out there in the cold, waiting to hear back from her and realizing she's not ever calling you back in. Maybe he's been outside of her castle gates for a long time and he's realizing, I'm the one who can't move on and I'm the one who would give anything to be back. I now realize what it was. She wanted an emperor. An emperor and empress co-create. The two of them talk things out and they figure out what's the best strategy. Not because it's like, well, I have an idea and I want you to agree that my idea is better. They don't care about who has the better idea. They care about how do we move forward with the best idea. So, but they have to be able to discuss it. They have to be able to share their opinions. They have to be able to communicate and defer to one another's, ideas. But if they never can talk about things at all, how on earth would they ever be partners? So I'm thinking that was the part. Maybe he thought it was strong for him to just make decisions or something and not consult with an empress, or maybe, I don't know what the topic was that he did not want to talk about. Can we see that? Do you want to answer that? Was there anything in particular? We got a Six of Swords in the reverse. Something he had not moved on from, something he had not let go of, something that was still a part of his life, something that maybe he was like, this is mine to deal with. This doesn't have anything to do with you. Yes, but if you're bringing something with you, then guess what? Your partner is going to have to deal with it. Four of Cups. Three of Pentacles. Something he hadn't let go of, or someone he hadn't let go of. Something where there's a regret, but it's like a whole group scenario that still is a part of his life, but it's like he wanted to keep that. Like, nope, you don't ask me about that. Yes, but you brought it with you. That would be like if, I move in and I bring some mystery box, and let's say it's pretty big, right? This is big enough to notice. So let's say I bring a refrigerator size box. I say, hi, I'm moving in. I was like, yeah, awesome. So what's in the refrigerator box? You don't ask me about that. And it's like, yeah, but it's a big old box that we got to set somewhere. Yes, and it's going to be right here in the living room. So what's in it? You don't get to ask me about that. If you try to ask me about that, I'll leave. And it's like, but it's literally blocking a window and it's taking up the size of, a significant piece of furniture, and you brought it with you, and, or I brought it with me and I brought it into somebody's house. Do I really get to stand there and tell them off about how they don't get to ask me about this massive box that has something in it? And maybe I spend a lot of time, staring at the box, and I spend a lot of time, everybody's got to tiptoe around this gigantic box. It would seem that I'm in the wrong if I do that, because I brought it in with me. It's my big secret. It's my thing that I don't get to talk about, but you got to deal with it, but you can't ask me anything about it. I don't think I would be in the right there. I think I would be in the wrong, because I'm expecting you have to be okay with whatever I bring in, and you have no permission to even get to know about whatever this is, but you have to accommodate me and accommodate everything. Here's the thing. I think partners do accommodate each other and accommodate our pasts and patiently, wait to learn maybe everything that's going on. I understand that, but this kind of feels like that there was not a request for, accommodation will slowly get to the point of unveiling. This was more like, you don't ask me anything, and my giant refrigerator box gets more consideration than than you do, you know? That's how this comes across to me. So I'm just using it as an analogy because it says it's something he hadn't let go of. It's something he brought with him. It was huge regrets. And it was like a big old group scenario or people he was still dealing with. So if it's like, well, every day he disappears to go deal with other people that she doesn't know, I don't know how you get away with that in a relationship. But I think that's what he was asking for. Don't ask me anything. Yeah, I have some regrets that I have some things that I still have to deal with, but you don't get to know about them. But sure, it's going to impact your life, Empress, but you don't get to ask anything. Yeah, that's definitely not going to fly. Look, it doesn't even have to be anything negative. It's something he thinks is negative, which is maybe why he didn't want to share it. But it doesn't mean that it's a big, deep, dark secret. It's just somebody who kind of, maybe he was just hyper vigilant in saying my stuff is mine and I don't want to tell everybody everything. And maybe that's just, you know, like what he was trying to do, you know. I don't want anybody to have to deal with my garbage. Okay, fine. That's you trying to be responsible, but not to the point of being punishing towards your partner who's simply got a right to know about you. Anyway, if you don't want somebody to know about you, then I guess you did the right thing by stepping on out of her life because you told her you don't get to know about me. And she said, okay, I guess you're leaving. Yep. Now it's all changed. And he's realizing that didn't work. It was, so we have the Trojan horse here. And so, you know, of course, in, you know, mythology and the Battle of Troy, well, now they say Troy was a real city, but in any case, you know, getting into the city of Troy, you know, they left some giant gift of a horse on the beach, and then all the soldiers hid inside of it. And when they rolled this lovely present, no suspicion there, into the walls of the castle, then when everybody fell asleep, the soldiers escaped from the horse. And then, you know, there was the fall of Troy, the battle that ensued. And so this is a Six of Wands. And the only reason I'm explaining any of that is because a Six of Wands is usually like a feeling of success, right? But he thought this is like a mind game, right? A psychological trick. I'm going to leave. And then she's going to say, never mind, just don't go. Just come back and be with me and I won't ask you any questions. And he kind of thought, haha, then she'll bring me back into the city walls and she won't even realize that I got my way. We'll just let this get swept under the rug and I will have won this battle. No, that didn't happen. Probably because why would she bring in the Trojan horse? Again, an empress probably doesn't accept things or, you know, backtrack on things. So at this point, you are brokenhearted over her. That we see that. So where are you at? Two of Wands. He's at a point of, what do I do here? Which path do I take? Do I go this direction or that direction? What am I going to do? Because I'm brokenhearted. I'm devastated. My heart is reaching out. I am now an emperor that realizes this was everything every move I made on this is wrong. I shouldn't have operated that way. So now what do I do? Knight of Pentacles. And he's just really trying to figure it out. He's just really trying to slowly but surely consider what are my options at this point, because I made an epic mistake in my behavior. So what do I do now? Strength card upright. Strength card. Oh my God, Electro Beats, thank you. Trust me, I am not a wonderful human. I'm a very flawed human and petty and mean and quite the ogre on different days. But thank you so much for your amazing gift, and I will aspire to be a better human. We have the Strength card. And the Strength card is, look, I think he has the courage, especially if he stepped into Emperor energy and said, what the hell was I thinking? Who behaves the way I was behaving? He certainly has the strength to face this now. Even though it's embarrassing maybe to have to think about the way, the attitude. But look, we all have attitude sometimes, right? And until our attitude costs us something, because I'm here and I fought the law and the law won. Until our attitude costs us something, sometimes we don't change a behavior, right? That's what a mistake in life is all about. We do something, we behave a certain way, and we're, too big for our britches. And then we get humbled and we go, Holy crap, how could I have been like that? That's just human life experience. Nothing here said that he was trying to be, monstrous, but he had this opinion that nobody asks me nothing. And yet I want to be with that lovely empress, but she has to operate the way I said, not realizing, no, 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 this is his moment to actually choose to step up and be an emperor and say, this is my partner, which means my partner gets to know about me. Otherwise, I'm not ready to be in a partnership. Maybe I just want to stay solo. I mean, granted, if whatever the circumstances were, because there's a lot of gray area. Maybe these two, maybe she would have been the kind of empress who's like, oh, sure, whatever secrets you want to keep, don't worry about it. I don't want to ask anything. If that had been who she was, it would have worked fine. It's just that's not who she was. So he was going to have to match her and let her be a partner to him if he were going to be in her world. At this point, he's not only got the courage to face some mistakes that were made, but also to kind of be a partner finally. I say that because this other card is the Lover's card. Finally, it's like, I realize you didn't need to bow and behave. I needed to step up and be your partner. I needed to bring you into my world. I needed to let you choose me for who I actually am and let you know what my life is about. I didn't have the right to say, you get to accept me the way I am, and I keep things from you, and that's what the organization is going to be. Well, he can think that, but then it means he can't be with her. That's the bottom line. Look, you can be whatever you want in this world, but just know that will determine who wants to be with you. And that's basically what this story was about. You can act however you want, but just know you could be a jerk, but then you have to face the fact that some people aren't going to be around you, want to be around you because you're acting like a jerk. You can be pretentious, and some people will really enjoy that and other people won't want to be around you. You can be whatever you want. You can be great, you can be awful, and some people will still like you and some people still won't. But you get to pick. But consequences are going to be there. And I think that's what he's realized is, if I'm going to choose to be with an empress, I want to be her emperor. So I want to actually be a partner to her. Now, I don't know, is it too late? I don't know. We've got the Nine of Wands upright. We've got the Nine of Pentacles sideways and the Queen of Pentacles sideways. He doesn't know the answer to that either. She doesn't know the answer to that because he hasn't made a move in her direction yet anyhow. There's still a lot to think about. We're still just in his mindset right now and what's changing for him. This almost feels, and I've gone and blown it, this video is so long now, it probably won't process. I'm probably going to have to take it down and re-release it tomorrow. Seems to be happening a ton to me on my videos now. So sorry if that's the way this one has to go, but I may as well not stop now. We may as well just wrap this up and try to get to the answer. I was going to say this deserves like a part 2 or 3, but I think we should just stick with it and wrap this one up because I already sunk the ship anyway. I get so into my characters, I forget how long a video is. With the Nine of Wands, though, nines to me are the personal, kind of like the aces are, where we're working on what we have to complete something. So you notice he's sitting here kind of like a Shakespeare. How do I write? What should I write? But then there's 2 different versions of him in 2 different eras, I'm writing something that's going to be really meaningful. I'm writing, something that, which version of me should I write from? It has to be really important. Should it be more floral? Should it be more expressive? Should I try to explain that I'm a different person? Should I try to explain that I realize I didn't behave toward a Queen of Pentacles as I should have? Or do I explain I didn't understand what your expectation was of me? Like, there's a lot of different ways he could figure out, what do I need to say? And in truth, maybe he's got to say all of it. We've seen all of it here. He didn't understand it from that perspective. He also kind of had this idea in his head that nobody can ask me anything, especially about something that I'm not over and that I'm dealing with, that I don't want anybody else to, know about. There's a lot of sides to this. So I can understand that him trying to figure out how would I describe this? What would I say? Is it that I didn't understand her and what her expectations were of me? Or is it that I wasn't the person I needed to be. I think it's all of the above, but I will say I think he hit the nail on the head where first and foremost it was his own wounded energy and maybe the way he was raised where it was like you don't tell, like maybe he was patterned, that whoever is the head of the household, you have to always look strong, so you can't let anybody know what's going on with you. You never tell your partner, you never tell your kids. If you're the head of the household, you have to look like everything's great no matter what, and nobody can ask you anything because your voice is thunder. Everybody else falls quiet in your presence. Maybe that's the kind of life role he was, patterned to in a family scenario, because we have like Big Papa here and we have like the whole family, almost like tithing to it. But this is a card of wounds. This isn't a card of like beautiful family structure. It has the appearance of it at first. It looks peaceful, it looks great, but we've got heads bowed to Big Papa. It's great to respect your parents, but our parents are just people. They're not gods, they're not perfect. So we're going to have different opinions, but this says no opinion, be submissive, bow. I'm not a big fan of bowing. So I would just say if those were wounds, if those were scars that came from his own family, and so he was, operating off of the only like template he knew, that could be the first most important thing for him to realize. Like, why was I operating that way? Why wouldn't I have let an empress, a partner, know things about me? Why did I think I had a right to not let her know the real me and whatever I was dealing with? To the point where I would try to punish with silence and, leave to teach her a lesson. That, yikes, that's a pretty nasty template to be following. So I'm glad it looks like he's seeing it that way and maybe breaking that mold of that template, because that didn't make anybody happy. Also, it feels very oppressive. It does not feel emperor material at all. The fact that he can see it this way, I would argue, does mean that he is an emperor at this point. He's looking at it saying, that's super freaking messed up. Maybe what was patterned to me was super freaking messed up. Maybe I find a new way. Maybe I decide to do things different, because really my template that I was raised in didn't make me happy. That's why there's so many goddamn wounds over here, right? With that 9 of wands. We got the sun. I kind of think at the end of the day, like, honestly, maybe this story is less about, does he get back with the empress, and more about he finally had this breakthrough. He can do things in a different way. He's not just a product of what he was raised in. He can set a new, tone for his life. We don't have to repeat what we were raised in or what we were trained in. Because with the sun, it almost feels like this huge relief, like he's finally happy that he doesn't actually have to operate in a way that wasn't even, I don't know, it was like the illusion of power and strength, and kind of resulted in a lot of isolation. If he's finally happy that he doesn't have to operate that way, to me, that's the biggest win in this whole story. And that's the foundation of what needed to change. So this was really an emperor story on, someone who has become an emperor. And we kind of got a really deep dive look at, how he was, who he was, how he operated, what his expectations were, and him, it cost him something to behave the way he was behaving. But that's also a big turning point for him. Broke his heart, as it turns out, to have lost this empress, made him finally contemplate, why have I been doing this? It doesn't even make me happy. And is there another way? Yes, step into your own emperor, real emperor power. And you're stronger for acknowledging that you'd like a partner. You're stronger for, choosing to break a pattern. You are not your parents. You are your own person. I actually love this for him. I definitely love the fact that we have the happiness here for him. And it says he's a much, here's the thing. I always think people are stronger when they've even had things that they've had to grow beyond, because think about how difficult that would be if you've only known one thing your whole life, and then you have to figure out how to reinvent yourself with no template to follow, no one to help you, nobody to, shape you or open up a path for you or say, here, I already paved this, or I already, hacked a path with a machete through the jungle. So here, let me give you these wonderful, helpful tips. He didn't have that. He had to reinvent himself, go off book and find a new path for himself, which to me would actually speak of why we would call him an emperor, because he had to choose to do this and he didn't have anybody to have guided him on it. So he did this purely because he wants to make a change. So I would say kudos to him. Three of Cups, he has come over the mountains, which are obstacles, and come down the other side. He could be an amazing partner now, an incredible partner, much more loving, much more open, much more expressive. That Three of Cups says he's ready to be a partner, because that's, he's realizing what emperors and empresses look like, treating each other with respect and actually, choosing to cooperate. We have the World card. This is amazing. He's a completely different version of himself. He's hit the reset button. This is him. And there's a lot of symbols of, enlightened beings on this card. There's so many symbols. So this basically is the true awakening of the divine masculine. And what is a genuine divine masculine? Now, please remember, I'm a fictional storyteller. I don't speak any truth. These are all stories. I'm in the story just like you guys are, not knowing what comes next. And then I throw in some of my own, ideas and analogies and, the way I'm interpreting things. But I am just a human being with lots of mistakes. So bear this in mind. But what I will say is my opinion, my actual human opinion of this story, is that I really like this character. I feel like, none of us know how to be our best selves until we've effed up, and then we decide to change. And I think it's more admirable that somebody could actually grow like this. And I think it speaks really well of what a huge impact she actually made in his life, to be the person that not only wanted to be with him, but showed him a different way. And the fact that he had the capacity to love her enough to make that change, or to identify she was an empress and I've never not wanted to be with her, but I thought I had to stay who I was, only to discover, no, I could be happier and I could actually, kind of become a partner to someone instead. This is the enlightenment of maybe what love actually is. When somebody loves another person enough to say, look, you can share with me who you actually are, that is like a huge opportunity to like really open up that crown chakra and say, oh my God, we don't have to be perfect. We can have mistakes, and we don't have to worry that we're going to be so judged that we have to hide everything that bothers us and, become these like isolated, like hermetically sealed capsules. I would say when I'm talking about his awakening, I'm saying this is him actually realizing what love looks like. And I do think it is possible only because I think that divine feminine really showed him genuine love. And I think that's him recognizing this. And it's kind of the universal truth, right? It doesn't matter which religion we're talking about. We have 5 represented on this card. It's of most belief systems, I think, that are something that that has something kind in it, talk a lot about love, because ultimately I do think that's probably the best human emotion we've got and the best motive. I don't know. This feels really nice. This feels like a true awakening. We'll use one last card, but I think this wraps it up. We have the Chariot. I'm glad we went one last card. Even here, which this is unusual, you never see 2 people in a chariot. I don't think I have any card that has 2 people in a chariot on any deck that I have. It's always one. So what a lovely and, serendipitous card to have. In fact, this deck is still new to me. I've only had it for like maybe 2 weeks, and so I haven't used it a lot yet. And so I haven't noticed this before or commented on this before. There's always 2 creatures pulling the chariot, and sometimes it's lions, and sometimes it's, dragons, and sometimes it's, fanciful beasts. But I've never seen 2 people riding in a chariot. That changes everything, and that's such a great culmination. I always say, only emperors or empresses get to ride in the chariots, and we have them both side by side. That's pretty amazing. All right, you guys, I'm going to leave this here. I have to be gone for a little bit, and then I will be back, and we will. Members, just know I will see you guys from 3 to 5 in the members corner. Everybody else, I will probably see you for at least another today's topic that I'd like to release a little earlier today. You guys, thank you so much for being here. AJSRVIM, wonderful to catch you, babe. Thank you for hanging. Hi, Steve. Steve, thank you for your awesome song messages too. Steve, I know sometimes you'll share a link to an awesome song. The only problem is, and I've been meaning to mention this to you, I can't have links show up in the comments only because scammers add links to take people to like sketchy sites where there's still information. So if you ever wonder why when you drop a nice link to a beautiful piece of music, why you never see your comment, is because it automatically gets bumped out. And that's just because the system can't tell the difference between, a scammer link or something legit. So please don't be offended. It's just, that's the way it is. No links can ever show up in the comments only because the scammers kind of wrecked it for everybody. But please don't be offended. Your music is great. But I guess you'll just have to write down the title of a song instead of provide the link, because the link won't show up. Bye, Bobby. Lalu, great to see you. Look beneath the surface. Wonderful to catch you. Christina Evans. Hi, honey. Are you voting for a Virgo video today? Okay. E. Holmes, nice to see you. CDW, Ariel Cavell. Mystic Madness, so great to see you guys. Kato Z, hi, babe. Empress Unicorn 111, awesome to see you. Thank you so much, Electro Beats. You were so incredibly generous. Thank you, babe. Danielle Drake, thanks for being here. Excuse me, Rainia Kamal. Aqua Starman, so wonderful to catch you in a live. Wonder T, hi, sweetie. Ella Gonzalez, Amelia Williams, Robin G, Helen York, Paris Jade Humphrey. Lots of love to you, hun. April O'Neil, wonderful to see you. Ash Keller, Louise, Naomi Torres, No Love, hi, hun. Denisa, always a pleasure. Chastity Harris, Annie S, hi, sweetheart. Sheila Thomas, M the Great, Perfectionist Virgo, Pluchino. I hope I said that with the right emphasis. No Filters Mon, Miss Xmas, Sierra, Black Butterfly 25, hi, sweetheart. Lion Queen, really good to see you guys. All right, I'll see you again in a bit. Lightning Cass, hi, sweetheart. Rohita Beauty, awesome to see you. All right, you guys, bye for right now. Genesis Harvest, hey. Raven T Maniac, you're adorable. Thanks, you, hun. Thanks for being here. All right, guys, I'll see you again a little bit later on today and tonight. Bye.